The Freak Show.
Hello, what up? This is the Freak Show. This rig here is all MDF, built much like 80/20 aluminium extrusion rigs, like for instance the SimLab GT Evo. Let's weigh this MDF design against such a 80/20 rig. So the plus side, of course, it's a lot cheaper. This would set you down maybe like 50-60 euros against at least 450, I think. It's also, again, cheaper and easier to make adjustments to it. Of course, a negative to that is that if you drill through it or glue something onto it, it's there forever. But I do have some ideas to battle that. I think in how easy it is to assemble it, it is just level with the 80/20. You don't need many tools. Also, attaching base shakers is a lot easier and the vibrations will transfer better than on an aluminium rig. I know that it's quite difficult to do that on a 80/20 rig, and you will likely need a bucket seat with a hard cover to attach them there. A negative is probably that it has like a little bit more flex. Maybe the biggest negative is that you might not want a 12mm DD wheel on this. New Fanatec CSL DD with 8mm, however, I guess will not really be an issue. This CSL Elite here is 6mm, so not much of a difference. And of course, last negative is that it doesn't look as slick, but you can do it better than I did. You can paint it, which is actually something that I might do later. So what do you need? First of all, a big home improvement / tool store that sells MDF, like these 18mm thick boards. You do want thick pieces like that. Also, for this plan, the store needs to have a service where they cut the MDF boards into pieces that we need. I think a lot of big tool stores provide that. Correct me if I'm wrong, I did it at a Castorama. The smallest they would cut in was 10 centimeters, but that's fine. All that at the home store, that will set you down like 40-50 euro. Then wood glue, which is like 5 euro. A drill, if you do not have one, ask a friend to borrow one for just one day really. A car or a bucket seat. Go for what you can afford. You can get real cheap second-hand ones on your eBay type of websites or your local garage, or get a new nice bucket seat. I got this Mini Cooper passenger seat, so yes, that's a possibility as well. Cool thing is it can recline, go up and down. You can have more or less back support, and it has a pouch for my reverb. Cost me 65 euros second-hand. Now what else do we need? A saw, it's not completely necessary however. A clamp, also not 100% necessary, but good for gluing pieces together extra tightly, and when you're gonna cut some pieces then it's rather necessary. Now one thing to consider, I'm about 180 meters tall, although you can adjust everything or make it adjustable. I got some ideas for that, so check that later. Now step by step on what to do. Do note that I made some mistakes in my build. But I'll elaborate on that as much as I can. So first off, I had 4 120 centimeters by 10 centimeter pieces. So you glue 2 of those together so that they're thicker, and you do that twice. That's our base. 120 centimeters is not very long, but it will do if you're not like 2 meters tall. Then everything in between is going to be the same length, say 40 or 50 centimeters. I chose 40, and then later I had a problem with the seat, so I had to install these extra pieces on top. That was my first mistake, as now the seat is a little bit higher than how it is compared to a SimLab GT Evo. So check the width of the rails under your seat. If you have the space, perhaps go with 50, just like most 80/20 rigs are. If you want it to be as compact as possible, 40 centimeters is just fine. So I stuck 4 pieces of 40 by 10 in between, 2 giving support for the pedal plate and 2 giving support for the seat. I had 2 more similar pieces to put under the seat, because that is where I put my bass shaker amp. Make sure you space these 4 pieces out correctly and then just glue the shit out of them. Lay one side of the long piece flat, glue the 4 pieces on the sides, and then put them on the long piece, so standing. And then of course make sure no one fucking bumps into that for like an hour, and leave it to dry for like 5 hours. Then lay the second long piece on top of it, of course glue it, 5 more hours to dry, as this is the base that needs to be tight. Then the pedal plate is a 40 by 40 centimeter board. You can't see it here, but on the bottom there is a bass shaker attached to it. Also in my rig underneath there's a lot of cables and the power supply, so that you just have one power cable sticking out of the rig. Also next to it is a USB hub, so that you can basically have one USB cable and one power cable sticking out of your rig. That's not really how it is here in practice, because I think my wheel is just best to have it directly into the computer. And of course later you get the drilling template for your pedals, and then you drill accordingly. Then the pillars for the wheel. This is again where I fucked up. I did not take my first mistake into consideration, so in the end I needed 10 centimeters more, because the seat was 10 centimeters higher. Also the wheel could have been like 5 centimeters closer to the seat. So to talk about one side, and they're obviously the same on both sides, this is a 50 by 20 centimeter piece, and these are 40 by 20, so this ultimately lines up here at the end. Mine is all glued together here, but if you want an adjustable rig, you could just glue these together here. You could drill a hole here and here, and put like a long screw with a washer and a nut. You could easily tighten them, and then later you could still take them out, move this backward if needed, and drill again. If you're not gonna do that, so you still want to glue it, then just wait with gluing these pieces to the base and install the wheel plate and test it out. Now the wheel plate. So the top here is 40 centimeter in the middle, plus 6 times 1.8 centimeter, which is 50.8. So not a good even number. You could have a piece of 50 or 60 by 20 centimeter, put it on top and then glue it. But before you glue, of course, test it. Just get in that seat and check if it's comfortable. Perhaps take this picture, take a picture of your side view, put them in Photoshop and play with the opacity. I have another bass shaker underneath here. It simulates the vibration per RPM, so you can sort of feel the engine, which is awesome. Then I extended my wheel plate with this extra piece that I glued on as well. This is the only place that I cut, just to give it these edges. It's very much reminiscent again of a SimLab base. Plus this is a way for the wheel to stick out more to you, because you might need the wheel closer to you than you think at first. Once again, test this out before you glue it all together. But this is a way to correct it after. That's how I did it. Then the seat. You could just, not have these pieces. You could just put this flat on that. The rails of my seat were too wide, so that would leave the screw here would go right in there, so that didn't fit for me. Now I must say that if this would be flat on there, then you would have no access to this screw and its washer so easily, and so that might not be comfortable, because these nuts will definitely loosen up your. I can't say this normally now, especially with bass shakers. Those nuts will definitely just loosen up after a while. So yeah, I'm actually happy with this axis that I have here. So in my case, I have two 40 by 20 pieces here. These two, where the rails of the seat are on. You could have just one 40 by 40 piece, much like the pedal plate really, but I have them separated because there's one bass shaker under each, as you see here, and I want to feel like the wheels impact left and right. And then the shifter arm, for me, was just an absolute freestyle job. I have an extra aluminium angle piece here to make sure it sticks. There's a lot more flex here. It doesn't really bother me during racing. Now, if you were to make your rig 50 centimeter wide in the middle, and I can't do this right now because this one is 40 centimeters in the middle, and this is just in the way. So, but what you could do, and let's say this is the other side, or that you're British, Australian, or whatever. You could connect it here, and then down here, and connect it there. That will make it, I think, a lot more stable. Now, I haven't discussed the feet yet. The feet here, I put some extra pieces, glued them just down to the rig, and then screwed this. What are those? They're like for drum sets. They sort of get rid of the vibration coming from the rig through the floor. They're dampeners, I guess. I think I will actually at some point remove these and put some wheels on them, some caster wheels, so that I can just move this rig out of here if necessary. Now, you do of course still need a monitor. In my setup I have my desk right next to it. For me, this monitor arm is a pretty good one. It wasn't the cheapest. It needs to be quite tight, and it is. If you want to have a permanent monitor on your rig, you could just buy any cheap arm like this here on screen, and you can just clamp that onto the rig, onto the wheel plate. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you have some extra tips or ideas, or you know, just leave something in the comments. This is a free country. You can say whatever you want. So and if you like any sim racing, then don't forget to call your mother. Wash those extra tight places under the sink, because those can get really nasty. What else? I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Goodbye.